What is up, guys? It's SX Modern Warfare here, Gamertab Banter Chicken, and welcome back to another hardware tutorial video. Yeah, I suppose this isn't going to be a full kind of in-depth type tutorial. I just kind of wanted to document another little LED strip project that I'm doing right now, which is what we're doing here is installing LEDs, these LED strips, the same ones I used on my Xbox 360 in episode 8 or 9 of hardware tutorials. I'll link that in the description if you want to check that one out. I can probably show you it here. Power that on. So we did that in like episode 8 or 9. There's an LED strip along the top, one along the bottom. Using the same LEDs, we are going to do the computer. This computer here that I built in another video. So we're going to basically go ahead and light this computer up because the computer has a window over the top. Right now I've got the side panel off, but the side panel has a big window. It's a Corsair 700D case, so it's quite big. So we're going to be putting four LED strips on the case. So pop this back down here. Now, so what we're going to do, first of all, is cut the LED strips. So we've got this big spool of LEDs now. I've pretty much used most of it now because I have cut them off into four separate strips that we're going to be putting on this computer. So basically, quite long strips. You cut them off on these black dots every 3 LEDs or so. There are these black dots where you can get a pair of scissors and cut them. So that is what I've done. I've gone ahead and cut them to length so that they'll be the right length for the case. Now we're actually going to be putting these LED strips on the side panel itself because it's just easier that way to stick them on and to solder the wires together. Whereas if we're actually putting them inside the case, that's going to become a lot more awkward. So that's why we're doing it this way. To power the LEDs, and first of all, you can buy pre-made ones actually, you know. You can buy them online and they do the same thing. You buy them and they're one strip, probably not as long as this, but you get one strip and they've got a power plug attached to them. Usually it would be probably a fan header connector, I'm guessing, or maybe a Molex connector to power them. But for that I would have to buy 4 of them, so I get 4 strips, and don't know if that means there would be 4 power connectors I'd have to connect. And I have these LED strips left over from doing, you know, multiple Xbox consoles with them. And they were cheap, you know, it was really cheap to buy a big spool of LEDs, and I've been able to get good use out of them. I've used them on about 3 or 4 consoles, three consoles, and now I'm doing the computer as well with the same LEDs. So yeah, I would say it's worth it. So what we're using to power this is a Molex connector. Now this used to be attached to a SATA power connector, so you can get these little Molex to SATA adapters. They're really cheap, you know, probably about £1 to a couple dollars. Really cheap. And what I did was just cut off the bit where they connect to the SATA power connector, trimmed off the wires, and what we're going to be using is one of these black wires, which is our ground, and the only yellow wire, which is the 12 volt. So we're wanting the black and the yellow to power it. So we'll just go ahead and solder all these wires, and what I'll do first, because well, this end's obviously going to plug into a Molex connector on the power supply, and that's how we're going to get power. We're going to do a test first before we actually connect it to the computer, because we don't want it to damage anything in the computer that is wired up wrong. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to stick all of these LEDs onto the side panel, and then I will link them together with wires so that they're all connected together, so they can all be powered from that one Molex. So we'll go ahead and do that now. So the 2 black dots, we're going to get this gel off, so we're going to just cut into it try and peel it away here. You can see that's coming off. And then once you get most of the gel off, I'm then going to get my smaller knife here, if I can find it. Here we go. I'm just going to scrape away at the black dots. There's still some gel on here, so. So now that that is done, you can maybe just see the copper there shining there. So once you have the copper revealed, you can then add some solder to it. So one thing you might want to do is add some flux. If you have flux, just add a little bit of flux onto it, because that will also help. If you just add some flux onto the ends there. Get your soldering iron. The best way would be to touch the copper with the soldering iron, well, with the solder, and then touch the copper with the soldering iron so that it melts. Because these points they're a little bit awkward to do that with, so for me, I am going to just put some solder on the actual iron and then just touch the iron onto the points to transfer that solder to the points themselves. Which is, you know, it's not recommended to do it this way, but I don't have much of a choice, to be honest. So we got that there, got some solder on there. And now there's solder on both points, so we can attach wires to it. So you want to do that with every single LED strip, and then we will be able to go ahead and, once you have done that, you can go and stick the LED strips onto your side panel for your case. And when you have that done, we can then attach some wires to connect them all together. Alright, here we go. I've got the case. I've got my LED strips to go on, so I'm just going to peel back the layer of this paper which gets the sticky side revealed, and we can stick that on. And whichever way you stick this first strip on, you have to be careful with what you do with the next strips, because if you put it round the wrong way, so if I get this strip and I put it round that way, then I would have to cross the wires over. So there's a little writing on the resistors, R for resistor, I guess. I don't know if you can see that. You can. So there's that little R, so just make sure that it's not upside down. So if you have one strip going along this way and the R is facing one way, make sure it's not upside down on the other strip, because then you'll be crossing over wires. So just make sure that it's all the right way around. Okay, so now we're on to connecting the strips together. So I've got two wires here, and all I have to do is basically cut them to length, strip them down, and solder them to connect the wires together. So one wire is for the ground, the other is for the 12 volt power. So I'm using yellow for 12 volt power because that's normally what 12 volt power cable color is, usually yellow. I literally had no other colour, so ground is purple for some weird reason. So let's solder this on. So there we go. It's another two connected. And I've already gone and done the one over here, so I've just got this one over here to do, and then this one will attach to the power cable. Okay guys, this is it. We've pretty much done everything. So what I've done with this power cable is I've connected the last two wires from the LED strips, the purple and the yellow, to the 12 volt purple and yellow, and well, the 12 volt yellow and the purple ground to our Molex, and I pulled out the other two wires that were connected to the Molex because that's not required. And that's everything connected up. You can see it goes from that last LED strip to the power cable. These LED strips are all connected to each other. That one as well. So now we've got to actually test this to make sure it works. So to do this, my plan for testing this is to use a spare power supply rather than use the one that's in the computer in case it's wired up wrong or something goes wrong and damages anything inside the computer. So we don't want that. So what I'm going to do is I've got a spare power supply that I'm going to use to test. So I'm going to put this on here, spare power supply. Now on the power supply, in order to make it work when it's not plugged in, what you have to do is basically take the green wire and any black wire, and you need to bridge them together with either a bended up paper clip or a piece of solder. It's solder that I'm using. So I've got one plugged into the pin where the green cable plugs in, and the other one's in one of the black pins. And what that means is when you flick the switch on the power supply to turn it on and off, it will switch on and off, because on a normal computer, even if you flick the switch to turn it on, the computer's not actually going to turn on until you hit the power button in the computer. So this way we can, have the power supply completely disconnected from any of the vital components in the computer and still test to see if this LED strip is going to work. So now that that's done, we can take one of our Molex connectors on the computer, on this power supply, connect it to our Molex in here, which are connected to the LED strips. And then if I take my power cable and try and get it plugged in here, so I may have to move this back a little bit. So here we go guys, moment of truth. Yes! Alright, okay, there is a slight problem. Some of these LEDs don't appear to be working. That could be because of perhaps not enough power, or, well, that would be unlikely. I've got a whole power supply just powering this one thing, so it's probably not that. Maybe some of these LEDs have died over time, which is a bit of a shame, but that's still plenty of light to light up the case right there. Very, very bright indeed. So it's good to know that works. It's good to know everything was soldered in the right order, and they're working, they're turning on. Every strip is on, even though some of the LEDs have probably died, which is a shame, but definitely enough light to light up the inside of the case. So I'm going to turn that off now. There we go. So I can hook it up to the main power supply in my case and see what it looks like. What we're going to do though is, before I go ahead and do that, get rid of this spare power supply now. So before I go and hook it up to the computer, I'm going to get some electrical tape and just insulate those wires. So now we have those protected with the duct tape. It's pretty much good to go now. Alright, so it's now plugged into our Molex connector on the actual computer, the main computer. So now I'm going to try and get the side panel on. Break that stuff off. Side panel is on. So here we go guys, 3, 2, 1, power. Nice. That looks awesome. It's not overpowering. I'm glad that. I thought the lights might be too overpowering and cast too much of a glare onto the screen because I have my TV right next to it. But they're not too powerful, which is great. But they do give good light into the case, as you can see, going all the way around. And that's our own sort of custom ghetto way of installing those LED strips. So I'll maybe turn the light off, main light off, and see what it looks like. Like that. Maybe won't look much different on the camera, but yeah, I mean, we can turn this on, we'll see the difference. You got our console there. Now we've got our computer done as well. We've got the lights coming up the top. Absolutely awesome. So anyway guys, thank you very much for checking out this video. I was planning to do like an RGB one with the remote. I think I said this at the beginning of the video, and I was going to use that instead, and then you could change the colors with the remote. Fortunately the signal box was either damaged or there's a battery problem with the remote, and I have to get a new one. So these LEDs may not be sticking around forever. If I can get those RGB ones working, then I'll replace these blue ones with RGB. I mean, you can see how bright they are. They're actually casting light all the way up over my room. But when the light's on, they're not too overpowering, which is good. So that is it guys. In fact, I can even take off the front panel. There's my dust filter there. You can get the light coming through there. Absolutely awesome. So thank you guys for watching. Go ahead, subscribe if you haven't already. Like the video if you liked it. Comment if you have any questions. And yeah, let me know what you want for future hardware tutorials. I'd like to know. I've kind of done most of the things that I was going to do for hardware tutorials. So I want to know from you guys if you've got any ideas, if you want me to do anything. I've also got the little, I wonder if you can see the XFX. You can kind of see that white XFX logo there. But yeah, that's it. Go check out the console video if you want to know how to install LED strips to the console. But yeah, I'll see you guys next time.